remove the profit motive. The profit motive is what keeps the war going strong. The money is just too great. I want to take a moment to talk about the difference as we have this discussion on decriminalization versus legalization. Many communities, many states are saying, okay, we'll pass laws where we don't put people in jail for possessing marijuana. Okay, we'll have medicinal marijuana. Okay, we'll have drug courts. We won't put people in jail, we'll put them in a drug court. The difference between decriminalization and legalization is simple. If you decriminalize it, the illegal drug dealer is still in the community. You're still buying his drugs where he procures it from, sprayed with whatever it's sprayed with, tainted with whatever it's tainted with. They're still in the community because, as I stated earlier, 34 million people in the last 30 days have tried an illegal substance. So they will continue to try to nourish that use, abuse, and addiction factor that they all have. Legalization means regulating it, managing it like alcohol. As you saw on one of the previous slides, alcohol is extremely dangerous. So is tobacco. The two top killers of people in the United States. But it's accepted, it's managed, it's legalized, it's regulated. When you buy a bottle of vodka, you know that it's not cut with something bad. You know that there's not botulism in that bottle. It wasn't manufactured in a bathtub. You know the purity of it. And that's so because we have very tight regulations over it. We suggest remove the profit motive, manage it, regulate it in the very same way. Because you either support an illegal drug dealer or you support a system of legalization. It's important that everybody here understand that I do not, Law Enforcement Against Prohibition does not advocate the use of any mind-altering substance. I will tell you that because we are advocates of legalization, it attracts a wide variety of colorful people. But we are not of the position that anybody should use any mind-altering substance at all. We just don't believe that somebody who simply uses or possesses these drugs is a criminal. We would like to take the approach that this is a health problem and not a crime problem. Let's not let the criminal justice system take care of this issue. Let's save a whole bunch of money, save a whole bunch of lives, and help educate people. We'd have to end prohibition in order to do this. We'd legalize all drugs. Drugs like marijuana, drugs like cocaine, drugs like heroin. That sounds pretty radical. We're not making it up. Switzerland has done this many years ago. Switzerland took the position that this is a health problem, it's not a crime problem. We as a country, they said, are going to refuse to prosecute people who have health problems. And so if you're a heroin addict and you go to your doctor, they give you a physical, determine you're a heroin addict, they give you a prescription for a government-produced pharmaceutical-grade heroin and a clean needle with a schedule for when you can come back and get your fix. Because it's a clean needle, because it's a known value, they have not had an overdose death since 1996 when they started this program. AIDS is virtually non-existent. It's dropped off the chart. So has hepatitis, because there are clean needles. And you say they give it to them? Yes, it's very cheap. On the street, there's a $6,000 markup of whatever drug of choice you have, at least a 6,000% markup. By not putting these people in jail, by not ruining lives, we reduce harms significantly in the community, and the cost comparison of doing this is significant in terms of savings. So the government would produce, regulate, and tax those drugs just like we do alcohol. Let each state determine how they're going to distribute the drug sales. That's what we do with alcohol. In Massachusetts, you can own your own store. In New Hampshire, the state government is the largest drug dealer because they are the ones that control the alcohol, which is a drug, and a harmful one at that. The direct profit from those sales, we suggest, would go to programs to help people and to educate people. But if you legalize it, won't everybody use? We went into an alcohol prohibition period from 1920 to 1933. It was called the Great Failed Experiment. People thought that alcohol was bad, it was hurting people. They made it illegal with the 18th Amendment. 13 years later, they realized that this was not working. When you looked at the statistics, gangs became rampant, crime became rampant. Homicide rates during that period peaked, just during that period. Al Capone at the time was the wealthiest man on planet Earth at 34 years old. But people were dying when they drank it. Some of it was polluted with antifreeze to help speed the process along. A lot of it had bacteria and botulism. It wasn't good. They realized after 13 years we have to pass the 21st Amendment and turn this around. They thought, gee, won't everybody drink? Won't everybody become an alcoholic? A lot of people do, but it doesn't exceed 1.3%. The Zogby poll says 99% of the people they surveyed said, hey, if heroin were legalized, would you shoot up tomorrow? No. Some people estimate there might be a spike initially in marijuana use, but that would probably go away. We say that because when you look at the statistics of marijuana use, the lifetime prevalence is 15%. People use it when they're younger, they don't use it so much when they're older, for whatever reason. Every country in the world where prohibition has been eased, marijuana use among its use declines. It's just over 20% in Holland. In the United States, it's over 40%. Some people say to me, how is it that we can, for so many generations after listening to this, just not do it? Why is it so difficult? Alcohol prohibition wasn't difficult, and it wasn't difficult for this reason. A generation went into prohibition, and 13 years later, the same cops, the same judges, the same parents, the same people came out of it. With the drug war, we've had generation after generation after generation experience this prohibition. So it is difficult for us to wrap our mind around it. And legally, you could say, how would you get that toothpaste back in the tube if you changed that policy? Legalization keeps it out of the hands of children. Because right now, if you're 12 years old, 13 years old, and you want to buy some dope, somebody in this town will sell it to you. They don't care who you are. They just care that you have money. And maybe if it's your first time, they won't even charge you the first couple times. You don't know what's in it. You don't know how powerful it is. You don't know if that needle is clean or used. And they experience that pressure to at least try it. So legalization means that we care about our children and we want to keep it out of their hands. The United States has the toughest enforcement laws in the world. We're also the country with the highest propensity for use, abuse, and addiction. Studies have shown repeatedly that increased enforcement does not deter crime or drug abuse. As I said with the example on the rainforests, we call that the balloon effect. If you put law enforcement resources on a particular area, it's like a balloon. You squeeze the balloon and it comes out over here. If you squeeze that, it comes out over here. It goes to another place. Jerry Cameron, one of the founders of LEAP down in Jacksonville, Florida, said he was successful in the early years running the drug gang out of his town back in the 70s. And he said by the time the 80s rolled around, they had a different gang, more vicious, more powerful. And he said we wanted our old gang members back because they were better and easier to deal with. Prohibition equals gangs, which equals violence. The Drug Enforcement Agency confirms that the majority of gang violence in the United States is over illegal drug marketplace disputes. That's why they feud and kill one another. When you look at the percentage of increase in federal prisons, this is not state prisons now or local jails, this is a state prison. You can see in yellow non-drug offenders in the federal system, and the red bars are drug offenders in the federal system. And you can see that the increase is astronomical. It's gone up by an astounding 2,500%. So in the United States, who uses and sells drugs? We know very plainly and specifically that white people do. White people make up 72% of all drug users in the United States. Blacks account for 13.5%. South Africa in 1993, under apartheid, which was probably the most racist regime we know of, they incarcerated an astounding 851 blacks per 100,000 population. In the United States in 2004, because of drug laws, we incarcerated over 4,919 per 100,000. Today, I'm sad to report that number is over 5,200 per 100,000. Yet 13